What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be talking about some early Regulation D cores that you can use or think about in terms of your team building for early on format, right? So basically there's no ladder yet, right? But there's actually been a few tournaments that happened this past weekend that we can start looking at in terms of like what's being used right now and what are some like popular cores and sets in teams that maybe you might want to pick up and build upon, or just like, you know, just use them yourselves, right? And the idea is to not like give you the perfect team in the beginning, but at least give you a starting point as to, you know, where to begin in terms of trying to build for this format. And then from there, you know, you can probably adapt and, you know, turn them into something like maybe that you want to do, or further improve upon it, right? Because these are just like beginning tournaments that took place. But again, it gives us a little bit of a starting point in terms of something to look at. All right, so there were 4 tournaments actually. So this one was the Battle Tree Regulation D. This was a showdown tournament, and it was a tournament of 19 players. And again, it just gives us something else to look at here. Then there was another one. It was just titled Regulation D tournament, just 9 players here. And then another one, 0 to Rio. This was a Brazil tournament, looks like. Yep. Basically this one was one of the bigger ones, right? 29 players, you know, and some pretty interesting mods were used here as well. And then another small one here, the Oko Club Regulation D practice, right? So all in all, these are all like relatively small tournaments, but again, it just gives you an idea of what people are trying to use early on, and then from there it just gives you some ideas as to where to start, and you know what could be good, and you know what maybe you can probably just toss in the back burner. All right, so we're gonna give you some ideas in terms of popular cores. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one over here. Okay, so I'm gonna start with one of the new fire water grass cores that people are using, and that is going to be Heatran, Amoongus, and Urshifu-Rapid strike. Okay, so basically you might be thinking, well, where's the Intimidate, where's the Gyarados, where's the Arcanine, right? Because these are part of your fire water grass cores that have Intimidate, and you either pick one or the other, and then you switch up some of your options. But you don't have that here. Well, that's because people are starting to use Landorus as an Intimidator, okay? And then from there, your other 2 slots can vary. But this is one of those cores where, like, if you're going to use this 3, then Landorus is obviously your 4th option here. But this is a very strong, you know, fire water grass core, right? Because just think about like Urshifu, again, like base 130 attack stat. It's got surging strikes, okay, Aqua Jet, close combat, again, very good against the ruined Pokemon. And of course over here can be a lot of different things. You can even put like Mystic Water, you can do Focus Sash like in Sword and Shield, you can even do like Choice Scarf to outspeed certain things. The Amoongus stays relatively the same. Of course, Rage Powders, you know, Spore, Pollen Puff, and then Protect. Okay, and then from there, Heatran. Okay, so now this with Heatran, if you look at its stats, and again, we'll spotlight Heatran more as we get closer to the format and give more ways on to use it. But again, Fire Steel is actually very good with Flash Fire ability. Basically, the whole idea is Fluttering is going to struggle, you know, because, you know, the Moonblast is not going to be effective, and the Shadow Ball also is not going to be effective either. And then, you know, the Chi-Yu combination also with it just doesn't really do all that well, because again, you can't really click a fire move into Heatran because of Flash Fire. So it actually walls both options, which is actually really good. Okay, and then Urshifu, of course, you know, is also a very good Pokemon. Just being able to, again, hit an opposing Heatran for that matter, and at the same time, it's really good into like opposing Landorus that you're gonna run to as well. And again, Intimidate doesn't really matter because you're just critting right through it. So, you know, go figure. Okay, so this is a very strong fire water grass core. And then something like Heatran here, you can just do like Heat Wave, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and then from here, if you're going like with a Life Orb set, then you're just gonna go like Protect. Okay, I've seen like choice spec items at the same time. You know, you can just opt for more damage and just go for another coverage move here, like maybe Overheat, for example. Or you can go for like an Assault Vest variant and just, you know, just also pick Overheat, or just go for something else. That's just like another coverage move in general. It gets Magma Storm, which is actually very interesting, right? It's a trapping move that a lot of players have tried, you know, in Regulation C. You know, think of like Sand Tomb, you know, Tinglu, or even like Whirlpool Gyarados. This is another kind of thing. But unlike those 2 moves, this actually does damage. Like Magma Storm, base power 100, 75% accuracy isn't all that great, of course, but when it does connect, it's going to be very good here. This thing gets Power Gem. I actually didn't even know that. Power Gem is actually pretty cool. Okay, but this is a very interesting starter of you know, fire water grass core. And again, you can just do something like this where you slap on Landorus, then you can slap on like Regieleki, and then finally some other 5th slot, maybe even like Cresselia, which would probably bring us into our next duo, right, with Cresselia, Heatran. But this is a very, very easy, starting 6. And, I feel like we'll just turn this 6 into a team building video in the next one. Because if there was like an easy team to start with, this is probably one of them, where we can just build something like this, and it's just like a very, very good starting point, right? But I digress. So again, you're going to see a lot of these fire, water, grass cores. And if we just look at the tournaments, I feel like you'll see a bunch of these, right? So let's see, here's Heatran, here's the Urshifu. Wait, is this single strike though? Bro, okay, yeah, it is single strike. Let's keep going over here. So this was the Battle Tree Regulation D tournament. Okay, so let's see if we can find a couple of these. Here's the Rapid Strike Urshifu, and there's a Lecky, right? But where are some of these? All right, so in this one, they didn't really use it all that much. Okay, I feel like it was in this. Yeah, there we go. It was in this one. Okay, so if we look at CORES VGC, then we look at this one right here from I'm not even sure how to say this name, right? But they have the same core over here, but again, different sets. So this one has Cresselia. Yeah, this is pretty much the same 6 I just listed, but this is an Assault Vest Landorus. Assault Vest Landorus is actually very, very strong here. And Lunar Blessing on Cresselia is actually really, really good, along with Icy Wind Trickum. So again, good speed control here. This is a Leftovers Heatran with the Magma Storm here, as I said over here. Very, very cool. No Steel move, hold that. That's very, very interesting, okay? And then there's the Rapid Strike Urshifu with the Amoongus. So that's a very interesting set. Let's look at this one. Same 6, just probably different variation. So this one has Skill Swap, which is actually really, really good with Heatran because you can give your Heatran Levitate. So now the Heatran, which normally has 4 times weakness to ground, is now immune to ground type attacks. So that's actually really, really good. Terra type Grass is also very nice because, of course, the water stuff. And of course, it also resists ground moves in general. And the Landorus here is still also Assault Vest, so that's also really, really good. But Terra Ice Regieleki is something to talk about also in this video later on. But again, you can very much see that, again, this starting core of, Heatran, Amoongus, and Urshifu-Rapid Strike is really, really good. And I've seen more Rapid Strike than Single Strike, by the way. I just want to point that out there. But it makes a lot of sense. It just does well into a lot of different things. Here's another one, right? This one has Ursaluna, but here's another one where, you have Heatran, Amoongus, and Rapid Strike Urshifu. What's this one running? Okay, so Ally Switch, remember, that will fail consecutively, right? We saw this move a lot in Sword and Shield a little bit, but thankfully they nerfed it to the ground. This one is a Citrus Berry Landorus, okay? Not an Assault Vest, so that's also really, really good. But I can keep going on and on, but I feel like, again, just if you want a Fire, Water, Grass core, here it is, right? Heatran, Amoongus, and Urshifu. This is a great starting point, and then probably just like Landorus just has to come here. But I would also just pair this with Cresselia, just because, like I said, you have the ally switch concept with Heatran, or you can even just do like skill swap, one of its tech moves where you can just pass on levitate onto your own Heatran. All right, so that's one of the cores. Let's move on to another one. Okay, next up, I want to take a look at some of the Trick Room cores that you might see at the moment, because remember, Trick Room teams, they're getting a huge buff with a lot of these Pokemon that are coming out from Pokemon Home, of course. And again, we just talked about Cresselia, and Ursaluna is a really, really good combination with it, along with Heatran, actually. Either one or sometimes both, you'll see them on Cresselia teams. And the whole idea, again, is because Cresselia is Levitate, the Ursaluna can go for Earthquake next to it, which is actually really, really strong. And of course, this is the Flame Orb Gut set, which is what you're going to see a lot of early on, because, just the raw damage that you're getting from Flame Orb Guts is just so good. Ursaluna can just one-shot a lot of different Pokemon, especially with Facade over here. Okay, this is probably also why you're going to see like some other options going for Terra Ghost, just to like bait this. But the idea, again, with Earthquake, Facade, and then from here you can just run like Protect and then some other move as coverage here, maybe even like Headlong Rush, but it's really up to you. You can even put a different Steel type move here. Does this get even Steel moves here? Let me take a look here. This is, oh, it does get Heavy Slam. Oh, that's really good. So you can even put that down here. And this is almost like the Iron Hands Great Tusk slot, where you have like triple digits in the HP, attack, defense, and then 80 special defense is really good. You can also almost look at it like a Tinglu, for that matter, a ground type with the same kind of stat build in this sense, except this hits a lot harder than Tinglu. So this third coverage move is up for grabs. And again, we've seen lots of different sets, but of course this is going to have Trick Room because this would be, part of a Trick Room team. I feel like you got to have at least one Psychic move. So something like either Psychic, you might even see like either Ice Beam or Icy Wind. I feel like for Trick Room teams, you'll see Ice Beam. No need to go for Icy Wind if it's like a hard Trick Room team, because why are you slowing them down? They'll just outspeed you in Trick Room. And then from here, I do like this new move that it gets, Lunar Blessing, where you're just able to get passive recovery over time. And it's actually really, really nice. Okay, but this is a very, very interesting starting core. And then over here, again, we already talked about Heatran and the synergy with Cresselia. Because it's just a really, really good mon, especially with like ally switch for that matter. It's also a really, really good pivot option where you can switch out the Heatran and go into Cresselia, maybe bait out that ground move, for example. But once you get the Trick Room up, even something like Enamorus as a special attacking Trick Room sweeper is really good, because again, one way to beat the Trick Room stuff is to bring in Amoongus and sleep things. But now, because you have Ursaluna that's going to be burned with Guts, and then Enamorus already has Overcoat, so you can't really sleep it with the Amoongus, and then this is just going to do so much damage, right? Because, base power, 135 special attack, 110 defense, 100 special defense. This HP, you can just buff it almost max and then just like make this thing relatively bulky with something like a Life Orb over here. But I feel like this is always going to be a starting core if you want to do like hard Trick Room. And if we take a look at some of the tournaments that we saw, we did see these four come into play. I believe it was over here. Yeah, this is exactly it. So almost good gamer right here, 6-0. And again, we do see that 4 over here. So with Cresselia, Enamorus, Ursaluna, and the Amoongus. I'm sorry, the Heatran. Well, you might as well just slap on Amoongus, right? That would probably be the 5th slot. But here it is, Lunar Blessing, Trick Room, Helping Hand, and Ice Beam. Yeah, this is actually really, really good. Helping Hand with Earthquake just does so much damage. And here you have the 2 ground moves with Facade and Protect. Of course, the Enamorus Pixie Plate is really good. Spring Tide Storm, Mystical Fire, Draining Kiss, Protect. Okay, very standard set. The Heatran, this one is a choice spec set with Overheat as the 4th move, as opposed to the other 3, which are relatively standard. And then Amoongus is Amoongus, right? So that's really good. I believe there's another variant of this down here somewhere. No, oh yeah, right here. Cresselia, Ursaluna, Enamorus, Amoongus. So no Heatran here. That's okay. But again, pretty much 4 of the same options here. So this is Life Orb Regieleki, which is gonna Explosion. Oh, all right. Who's Terra Ghost here? None of these things. Oh my goodness. What is this? Okay, Explosion Regieleki. That's very, very cool. But again, all right, here we go. Trick Room Ally Switch. All right, that's probably for Aleki and then Ursaluna shenanigans. Oh my goodness, why? Is this really the format where Ally Switch comes back again? I don't know, but this is another really, really good starting Trick Room core. And then over here, did we see it again? Yes, we do. All right, now I know. Oh, it's the same person, but they dropped, so there we go. How about over here? Did we see that over here in terms of that kind of core here with Enamorus? I don't think so. Yeah, it just wasn't played in this tournament. I don't think so. All right, well, that's okay. Now, that being said, what about Glacier? Can Glacier work in Trick Room? Absolutely. So I know this person dropped here, but this is actually a pretty decent way to go about it. You slap on Abomasnow, Glacier, and that's a starting Snow Team core, which we'll probably mention a little bit later in another video. But here we go. Cresselia and Ursaluna, they come here. King Gamon's also really good here, but this is another option that you can also consider as a starting point. But yeah, definitely consider these 4. I feel like it's a great way to start. And then again, just slap on Amoongus here. And then your 5th option can be, something that can vary depending on certain matchups that you see. But as far as like hard Trick Room, this is pretty good. Okay, let's keep on going. Okay, another one that can fall under the more standard balance aggressive kind of starting core is, again, Regieleki will come, but it also can be paired with Urshifu-Rapid Strike. And again, I'm getting like Sword and Shield vibes already, right? Because again, with Regieleki, you can just go for Electro Web spam, get speed control, break potential sashes, and then Urshifu will just outspeed everything else and just go for, rapid strikes, not rapid strikes, surging strikes, and then or close combat, Aqua Jet, and then protect, right? This is very standard. And then over here, Landorus, this is the big 3, right? Regieleki, Urshifu, Landorus, you get your Intimidate support, and you get your ground immunity, of course. Same thing, you can click Electro Web, and then Landorus can go for something like Stomping Tantrum. You can get U-Turn out of here, you can get Rock Slide, and then Terra Blast over here with Terra Flying. You know, you don't have to rely on Fly anymore. This could be an Assault Vest if anything, or you can even do like a Life Orb set, but you know, that you kind of like want Protect over there. But this is another relatively standard set. And then over here, Amoongus will give you that Trick Room matchup, give you that redirection support. And then sometimes what you can do here with Landorus sometimes is if you don't want the Assault Vest here, you could do like a Lumberry set, and then you can just do like, okay, Stomping Tantrum, Terra Blast, right? And then over here you can do Swords Dance and then Protect, right? And this is what allows you to lead these two in that sense, right? You can just redirect things with your Amoongus, set up the Swords Dance, and then Landorus can go for hard-hitting Stomping Tantrums, hard-hitting Terra Blast, you know, just as another ways to do it, right? But if you don't want to go with the Swords Dance set, that's okay. At the very least, you can still start with these 4 and mix and match with your other 2 slots. And if you look at some of the tournaments that, again, just took place over the weekend, this is a part of the core that they did use. So nothing over here, but over here was used quite extensively, right? Yeah, so here's Regieleki, here's Urshifu. No Landorus, but you do have Tornadus here instead, but that's okay. Here's Regieleki, Urshifu. I'm looking for the common 4 that I just mentioned here. Actually, I don't know. It wasn't even in this tournament. I feel like it was, this is the one. Yeah, so right here. So Amoongus, Landorus, Urshifu, Regieleki, and we kind of mentioned this 4 already. You know, this is Cresselia, Heatran. This could have easily been like Cresselia, like Glacier, for example. Like Swords Dance Glacier really hurts. That actually sounds like a really cool team, actually. Then another one over here. Regieleki, Urshifu, Landorus, but here's a Tornadus instead, but in DD redirection support, so that's okay as well. Is this any of these setup moves? Hold on, let me check this one. All right. Oh, this is Choice Band Landorus. Oh my goodness. okay. Tailwind, Bleak Windstorm, Rain Dance. Okay, so that's very interesting. Well, that makes sense, right? Because Rapid Strike Urshifu does a lot of damage in the rain. It says Trick Room over here. Okay, how about here? So Amoongus, Landorus, Aleki, you know, again, similar concept, no Urshifu over here, but that's all right. Then even some of these, right? Well, we don't want to get too far down here, but how about this one? Okay, no, none over here, not at the moment. Oh, this is cool. Actually, let me just peep this one. The Galarian-Articuno, competitive, right? Yep, that's actually really nice with, Hypnosis. Okay. All right, but, you do see some options here, for that core. But I like it a lot. I think it's relatively balanced, and again, it's no question why you see it over here at number 2, and also down here at number 7. So go figure. But it's a really good starting balance core. And then over here you can just slap on like a Tailwind core, like maybe with Tornadus, or you can go the Trick Room route with Cresselia, for example. And then this way you get a Tailwind mode and a Trick Room mode at the same time, while having these 4 options like in the back. Okay, let's keep going with one other core. Okay, how about Orthworm, man? I feel like Orthworm is still really good right now, and then in transitioning into Regulation D, I feel like instead of something like Gyarados, you just use like Landorus, or even like replace the Gyarados, or even like the Tinglu, just use Landorus, right? And then from here you just put on Dragonite, okay, and then you're kind of just chilling with these 3, right? Because, you know, I was watching like, you know, Dragonite, Earthquake, Gyarados, Earthquake, but now you get a Stab, Earthquake from the Landorus, right? And next to an Earthworm team, and then you can just slap on like Amoongus and then Shen Pao for a little bit more extra physical damage, and you're kind of just chilling with these 5, right? And then over here maybe just slap on Fluttermane, just to round out a potential team here. So this way you get a Dragon Fairy Steel Core, and this could be like the very first Orthworm team for Regulation D, right? I feel like I did see one here in one of these tournaments. I think someone tried it actually. Yeah, here it is. So like it's Tinglu. So it's Tinglu and Landorus. So let's look at this one. So here's the Orthworm. Here's the Landorus, like we said. This is the Swords Dance Landorus. Okay, this makes sense. Well, where's the Amoongus? Okay, maybe you don't need it. All right, and then over here, they also ran the Tinglu. So double ground, which is actually really good. I feel like Tinglu and Landorus is actually going to be really good together. Okay, because I was using Salaman's Tinglu because I wanted a flying type Intimidate Pokemon with Tinglu. So this way you can Earthquake next to the Salamence. But Landorus kind of also does well there as well in that kind of role, right? It's a flying type, it's got Intimidate, you are a ground type, it's the same as your Tinglu, but that's okay. Landorus is actually more usable than Salamence in certain cases, so I'm not mad at this at all. And then of course it's a Dragonite with Dragon Dance, you know, setting up behind, you know, the Shed Tail Orthworm stuff. Now these two are very flexible in terms of how you want to do it. So this is Rapid Strike, Urshifu, and Iron Bundle. Doesn't have to be these two, but I feel like you could just easily slap on like Chien-Pao Fluttermane over here and just kind of be chilling here, or you know, go a little bit more defensive here with the Amoongus and just, you know, also lead with the Dragonite, you know, set up Dragon Dance that way. But I feel like this is another core that you can use, and you know, we can even build this team for like another video. But I think Landorus Orthworm is just something else to watch out for, or even to just trying to consider as well. I think it's a really nice, interesting combination. Okay, especially if you can put on the same kind of squad as like a Tinglu. I feel like Tinglu Landorus can also be used relatively okay. So you know, but it's still early. But at the very least, I think it can do pretty decently because there's some good synergy there. Okay, how about more of a Tailwind offensive core, right? With Tornadus as a starting point. So of course, you're gonna get Tailwind here. If you want, you can even use the Bleakwind Storm, which is actually 100% accurate in the rain. So you might even see like Tornadus on certain rain teams. Can I just say this is gonna be like a really busted move once Kyogre is allowed? Like, oh my goodness. Like, remember how good Kyogre Tornadus was in Sword and Shield? Now you add this, which is 100% accurate. Oh man, but that's besides the point. I feel like double Genie here with like Landorus along with Tornadus is really good because again, what you're able to do is Earthquake next to the Tornadus, and then also with the Tornadus being weak to electric type attacks, you can pivot in your Landorus as a switch to be able to absorb that attack from Regieleki, and then just pin that slot from there. Speaking of Regieleki, I feel like Regieleki comes here along with something like an Urshifu. Where is that? Right here. Okay, and then on certain teams, you might even see like Rain Dance, just to help the Urshifu do more damage in the rain. But this is a good starting point here with these four. So double Genie with Aleki Urshifu. This is like a hyper offensive core, and then you can just run like a little Trick Room kind of thing, or just have something for Trick Room, like for like, you know, just slap on an Amoongus. And then from here, this is like a filler slot, for example, right? And I'm really getting Sword and Shield vibes over here once I'm looking at something like this. But you don't even have to have the Amoongus, but I feel like this starting four, even like these three, is a great point to at least use. And if we take a look at some tournaments here, we can see some of these, right? So here's Aleki, here's Urshifu over here, and here's the Tornadus. So this is a pretty good example here of using 3 of the 4 that we mentioned. And then here you just have like Cresselia, Ursaluna, and like a Trick Room mode, right? Which makes a lot of sense in my opinion. So shout outs to Slow Sunflower over here for, you know, some double tail room, as we call it, Trick Room and Tailwind, because then you can easily just do something like this where, you know, you just have Cresselia and then or you can even do Ursaluna or something like Heatran for that matter. You know, just some Trick Room engine along with the Tailwind stuff. So this could be something, right? But at the very least, I really like these 4. Let's see if we can find another that's also like that. So here's Tornadus, Urshifu, and there's the Amoongus. Here's the Fluttermane instead of the Aleki, right? So that still is okay. Aleki, Tornadus, okay. So some similar ideas, but let's see if we can find another kind of team where it's just using that. Oh, okay, here we go. So Regieleki, Urshifu, Landorus, Amoongus. Okay, so is there a Tornadus here? Okay, here's one. Yeah, Regieleki, Urshifu, Tornadus, and Landorus. So here's the 4 that I was talking about. So this person went 4-2 with it. Yeah, Corvor Cloak makes a lot of sense. You don't want to get faked out here because there's no protect here, right? So they did go with the combo I did mention, right? They went with Rain Dance, Bleakwind Storm. Makes a lot of sense. And this will make the Urshifu do more damage. Here's the Landorus with Choice Band, very aggressive, and then, you know, Chiyu Indeedee as another kind of thing for redirection set, you know, just maybe set up either the Tailwind, you know, just get redirection support here. Imprison Trick Room, I guess this is one way to stop Trick Room by just using the Indeedee as a Trick Room, as an Imprison bot. So that's pretty good. Is there another set, another 4 that can do this? If I can find it. All right, so here's Tornadus, Amoongus, Landorus, Therian, and then here's Arcanine Paladin. So Fire Water Grass Core over here, right? You already have the Intimidate from the Landorus, so here's the Hisuian Arcanine with a more offensive set with Head Smash, Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Life Orb. So this is an aggressive fire type. Does have flying type as well, so this is meant to be partnered with the Landorus. So that's also really nice. And here's the Palafin, which again is going to enjoy the Rain Dance, Bleakwind Storm, Tailwind, Tornadus. So that's another thing you can do. Just put in Palafin, Amoongus, on these kinds of teams, so that's also really nice. Here, let's actually, well, but then you already have the Urshifu, right? So you don't really, do you really need the Palafin? You can just do like the Amoongus here as the grass option if you want to run Rain Dance over here. Okay, so that's also pretty good. But other than that, is there another set or another team that did run this? Okay, here's Tornadus, Amoongus. Oh, that's the one we just looked at. Okay, all right. All right, no one else ran over here. How about the Oko Club? Did they run it? Not too many, right? So I still think it's a really, really good four. I feel like people should start to pick on it a little bit more in some other tournaments. But as far as like the offensive options here, again, just like Rain Dance with Urshifu is actually really, really good. And then the Amoongus can't really die from fire type attacks just because you're able to resist against it, right? And Regieleki Tornadus is just also very, very good, right? You just click Electro Webs, okay, and then from there you can just outspeed things, you know, just go for Bleak Wind Storms, or even just have Tailwind Regieleki and just go bonkers here with like a Life Orb Regieleki. Make it a slower Regieleki because, you know, you have Tailwind anyway, but a slower, bulkier Regieleki, okay? And then Landorus, Urshifu, Amoongus. This could even be the Swords Dance Landorus, but you can even just have like some other, you know, offensive mon over here. Maybe like another bulky Pokemon, like maybe, man, I don't even know here. Yeah, I guess you could put the Arcanine here, but I don't really like it that much. I feel like there's another option you can put here. But at the very least, this is a good starting four, along with the Amoongus as another tailwind option. Not tailwind option, a tail end option to round out the team. You get that nice grass type here, but I feel like this is just some filler here with some fire type. See if we can put them here. Maybe just literally like Heatran, right? I feel like that's also pretty good here. I understand that there's rain here, but you have other moves that you don't necessarily have to click your only fire type move. Is there any other fire types here that we can use? Oh, Typhlosion. We'll talk about like Typhlosion eruption teams in a later video, but at the very least, these are some good starting points. I feel like whatchamacallit? Like, wait, I just had the fire type option over here. Can we put it as far as the Heatran is concerned? But I don't want to be really weak toward him. I'll think about this. But hey, you have this 5 here, so yeah, give this one a go. And if you got a 6 option, you know, let me know. I feel like this is something I want to work on in the back. Okay, the last core that I want to mention is the Galarian-Moltres core. Now, this is one of those Galarian birds that I used a lot in Sword and Shield, especially with Dynamax format. It's just a very, very strong special attacker that you have to manage carefully, right? Because if you proc Berserk, it's just going to do so much damage. So you have to manage how you want to damage this thing. And Dynamax really, really helped it a lot. I don't know how well it can do outside of Dynamax, but I feel like it's still pretty good. So at the very least, I noticed stuff like, you know, Amoongus and Landorus do relatively well with it. And this was also true in Sword and Shield, just because, again, with the electric weakness from Moltres, the Landorus can pivot in and switch in from that. And what's also good with the Amoongus here is you can redirect attacks and set up that nasty plot on the Moltres, or you can either set up the Swords Dance on the Landorus. Either way, it's going to have Fiery Wrath. Okay. Oh man, I can't even get it right. Fiery Wrath. And then from here, you can also opt for like a Tailwind set with this Moltres, right? So you can make the entire team fast. But if you do go that route, then you can't really go with the nasty plot anymore. You would just go with something like Air Slash and then Protect. All right, and then still go with something like a Life Orb. So this way you still are relatively fast. But if you want like, you know, nasty plot, I would just go like Safety Goggles, Moltres, and just go that route. But something like this is also really good. And then from here, you can just slap on Regieleki. Regieleki Moltres is actually a really, really good combination because again, you can just click Electro Web, slow things down, click Fiery Wrath, get the free flinch if you can get it. So it's a very, very good combination. It's just going to do so much damage. So you just have to be aware with that. Okay, and then from there, like you can even do like Landorus and Moltres combinations where you can just click Earthquake next to your Moltres. And then from there, just click Fiery Wrath, you know, lots of different spread moves here. I feel like this is another format where Wide Guard can really, really be useful just because you have so many Pokemon clicking spread moves here. And now with Electro Web, Earthquake, and Fiery Wrath, and a bunch of other stuff, right? Like Heatran, Heat Waves for that matter. So that could be something. And then from here, you could just do like Cresselia, and then something like Heatran over here. This is a very, very solid, again, another good starting point here. Like you don't have the Urshifu here. But you do have Cresselia Heatran, you know, and with Trick Room from the Cresselia, you're just able to have a Trick or Treat. you just have another slow mode that you can put on with Amoongus and your Heatran for that matter, and then just heal them up with something like Lunar Blessing. Okay, and again, I'm not going to do like a full team building thing over here, but I feel like this 6, or at least these 3, you know, with Moltres, Amoongus, Landorus is a very, very good core. And then from the other 3, it's just really up to you. But I like this 6. I feel like it's also really, really good as a starting point. Again, I like to reiterate what I said in the beginning of the video, that, you know, these are not like necessarily like the perfect teams, but they're very, very good starting points, right? So that's going to be it, right? So I just wanted to give you like some of these good entry points into some of these cores. And again, if you're interested in team building for Regulation D, if you're trying to enter a tournament, an online play, or just simply ladder, or if you're trying to go for a future regional, for example, or you're prepping for world championships, feel free to sign up with a coaching session from me. We can do a one-on-one team building session. We'll build a team for Regulation from scratch. I'll show you how to do EVs. We'll make the entire team, then we'll test it out a little bit on Showdown once we get the ladder. Okay, and then from there, you know, we'll do some feedback sessions, you know, just how was the team. We'll make some changes, of course. You know, a lot of teams are going to be used early on, and a lot of them are going to change, right? Just because there's so many different kinds of combinations and things you can use, different cores. I only mentioned like maybe 4 or 5 cores in this video, and again, it's going to be early cores. There's going to be more cores later on, which we'll talk about in future videos. But at the very least, I wanted to give you guys some starting point as to where you can go with some of these squads. So I gave you like a couple of trick 'em ideas. I gave you some Tailwind stuff, a little bit more balanced stuff. But again, like as long as you're using stuff like Regieleki, Landorus, Urshifu, you're like with some, you know, back engine, you can't really go wrong right now, right? And hopefully I was able to give you some ideas. So that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.